podcast. As always, I'm Steve Beach.
And I'm Brian Mayer. Hello.
We are coming to you again from the Greenwood Public Library in Greenwood, Indiana, for as long as they will have us and not throw us out.
Yeah, as long as we stay on the good sides of the librarians, and
Right.
they are a fickle bunch, so we
Yeah.
will see how long that lasts.
Right. And there is a window here in the studio, and it's odd because sometimes people come by and just stare in as if it's like some kind of two-way mirror, like they can't see us, but we can't see out. So
I like to think that we're exhibits in a museum.
right.
They're like, and this is what middle-aged men do.
Right. The sign that says, "Don't feed the boys." Anyway, so if you want to get in touch with us, we have a Facebook page and we have an email, vinylword22 at gmail.com. And whatever app you're listening to us on, Spotify, Apple, there is, under the episode summary, there's just a little link that says text us. So you can text us directly, which I think is pretty cool.
It is.
Pretty neat way. And then we also have an account on X.
Yeah, where on X we try to put up a joke every day or every couple of days, and we try desperately for them to be funny, and you can see that naked desire hanging on every word.
The angst and the desire. So, yeah, so you can find us on there and reading those jokes. Feel free to leave a comment or whatever. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
So, we're starting a new record today, Brian.
We are.
It's another one in that Here How To series.
Which has treated us very well. It's very strange, but it's Here How to Handle Your Boat.
Yeah, kind of a odd one.
Yeah.
From the others, but we'll get into that here in a minute. But let's check in with Charlie Cutler.
Yep.
It seems to me that... Oh, hello, this is Charlie Cutler.
Hey, Chuck.
Let's just talk for a couple of minutes.
Let's not.
It seems to me that no matter how hard you try, you just can't read tomorrow's newspaper today.
Because warm travel has not been invented, Charlie.
I do, but then maybe
First edition was based around that entire premise.
Right.
The first funnies I ever saw were Happy Hooligan and Hairbreadth Harry and Little Nemo and
those were just friends in his bedroom.
And incidentally, funnies were funny in those days.
Today they're just
they're
just evil and dark.
One local newspaper always had these
They're written by the
ahead of
libs.
time so that he could get them ready for each day's printing. And we boys used to try every which way to get him to show them to us in advance.
We
Just so
threatened
we could
him,
go around
burned his
bragging
house
that
down.
we knew
We
what was
stole his
going
car
to
for
happen.
4 days.
But no matter how hard we tried, and we tried hard, that editor
I
always
served a
refused.
3-year prison sentence for
He
kidnapping
wouldn't even
his
let his own
mother.
children see him. In fact, I can hear them say, what good is it to have an editor for a father if he won't even show you the funny strips ahead of time?
That the father was
Well,
convicted
we
of child
finally
abuse.
realized that we just weren't going to see the next day's comics. And so, after a while, we got so we weren't even curious anymore.
So we went out and got
Now,
drunk.
That's worth considering, isn't it?
Oh, Charlie Cutler.
Oh boy.
You cad.
Right. So yeah, as we were saying, this is Here How to Handle Your Boat.
Yes, which to me is almost a mind-boggling concept to put onto a record.
Yes.
This is, what was the year for this one? It was, I'm assuming, in the early 60s?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we going to make a bunch of jokes about dinghies?
Well, of course, because we're immature adults.
Okay. Do I get to tell the most famous naval-related joke that we learned in childhood?
Sure.
Okay. I will tell that sometime during the pod.
Okay.
And it'll be great.
Okay. And also, I think I'd like to keep count of the many of the times they say seamen, referring to seamen.
You know, buddy, I love you and you do you.
All right. Well, let's drop the needle.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome aboard for more fun on the water.
Yay!
Pleasure boating offers enjoyment for everyone.
Ooh.
Including
No
below
other
deck.
sport lets you go fast or slow, cruise with friends, or explore new
Except for
waterways
anything
alone,
with a
fly
car.
up in a
Right.
pleasant harbor with other craft, or find solitude at anchor in a quiet cove far from everyone.
Like prison.
Boating is a safe sport and one of the easiest to learn,
Hashtag
but it is
Titanic
important that you
line.
get underway properly and continually practice good seamanship.
1.
In this record, we will tell you how to get started if you are a
With
beginner,
your semen?
and review for you important principles of the sport if you are more experienced.
Have you
Either
ever
way,
been
you will find these many
experienced?
hints helpful in improving your boating and making it more fun at the same time. Boating around the country while I report waterway activities and living afloat a good deal of the time, I have found many shortcuts I'd like to pass along.
Rule number
that can
one,
make the sport simpler
swim.
for you and safer as well. On the water, you will find you never stop learning about boating.
Or drinking.
It is always a challenge to your common sense and ability.
Yeah, Steve.
And that,
drinking.
too,
Right.
adds to the pleasures of going afloat. First, let's look at your boat.
Look at it.
Whether you are just starting to shop around or have owned many different craft already,
Or you have a hedge
it's a
fund
good
and
idea
just buy
to
them all.
decide
Right.
now what would be the dream boat for you.
And I've been up a certain
Let me give
creek
you a
without a
test
paddle
now.
several times.
I suggest you write down your answers.
42.
When you are finished, you will have an outline of the boat you should buy next. Here are the questions. What kind
long?
of boats have you been out in already?
Showboating?
What have you already owned? Which did you like best?
No. Stop it! I can't
Why?
take the pressure!
How do you hope to use your boat? For fishing?
Sorry.
Day boating? Overnight and distance cruising?
Drug
Water
running?
skiing? How about racing? Will you entertain aboard?
Or
Are
abroad.
the waters near you sheltered or usually rough and exposed to storms? Are there fast currents?
Or Fast Times at
Will your
Richmond
family
High?
be along and feel safe and comfortable in your favorite type of boat?
Are you trying to
What
avoid your
sizes
nagging
and
wife and
models
kids?
have proved most successful in your local waters?
Size doesn't
What do
matter.
their owners
Nope,
say
it's
about
the
them?
motion of the ocean.
How much do the owners estimate it costs a year to have such a boat? Will you want to trailer your boat? Have
Or
you
the whole
tried
feature.
renting or chartering a boat similar to the one you want to buy?
Or a stolen one from the
Money
Coast
didn't
Guard.
matter. What would you like to own?
Ooh,
What is the
I'm going to
smallest
say a
boat
giraffe.
that could meet your needs and still be fun?
How much
Let's be
self-esteem
honest.
are you trying to
Will you be
overcome?
happy with a boat that may not impress your friends? How large a boat do you feel you could handle comfortably alone?
Yeah, Steve.
Sounds personal,
there you
don't
are.
you think?
Now you have an outline of your basic requirements in a boat, plus some
Floating
reminders
wasn't on
to
there.
follow that fine old slogan, ask the man that owns one.
Or is
But
at
let's be
least in debt
practical
up to his
about dream
eyeballs?
boats. There is that other requirement involved, money.
Oh, yeah. Dream
You
realistically.
will remember that
That's
the millionaire
very
J.P.
Indiana.
Morgan
Right.
is supposed to have said, if you have to ask how much keeping a yacht costs, you can't afford one.
That's what
That
Elon
was
Musk says
practically
about
true of the
rockets.
large luxury craft of his day, but need no longer be the case for you.
We have credit cards.
Maintenance, a topic we will discuss later, used to require up to 1/4 of a large boat's purchase price every year. But now with smaller, better-made craft, today you can have a boat that fits neatly into your budget.
Oh, he's just a little
When
guy.
you figure how much you can afford to spend, add up as well how much time you are likely to spend aboard.
Or on abroad.
If you
Yeah.
will be boating instead of taking your family on a vacation trip or to a resort, it's fair to figure this money toward your boat.
What's hard and...
We've now looked at your specific needs. Next, let's examine some boats that might fit them.
I have needs,
What kind of
Steve.
boat should you buy? I'm not going to tell you. That's like
Jerk.
recommending a blonde wife or a brunette or a redhead.
He clearly hates
Do get
redheads.
a boat that pleases your eye, however. Part
Slutty
of
works.
the pride of owning a boat is her looks as well as her performance.
Guys, the
If
same
you
is
live on
true of
protected
dating.
water and like speed
did.
and afternoons of water skiing, consider a fast runabout that can plane along the surface of the water. Heavier craft, from rowboats to houseboats, have displacement hulls that push away their weight of water as they move ahead
Like a fat
and
guy
have speeds
cannonball.
limited
Yep.
to about 10 miles an hour. Remember the list of requirements we made up, and don't pick a boat that is all cabin if you will only be using her afternoons and need the cockpit space.
Is he still talking
Be
about
certain
boats?
that the boat is big enough
I don't think
so that you will not be tempted to dangerously overload with passengers and gear.
Beer?
Gear.
Should your
Is
boat be
beer
pushed
gear?
along by power
Sure.
or sail? This argument
Or
between
raging
windjammers and
insecurity.
stinkpot sailors may never be settled. Both are fun. Both take special skills.
I'd thought to be a
If you
stinkpot
are
sailor.
already experienced with
You
one,
already are.
you may
Oh,
wish to
thank
try
you.
the other. There are more and more two-boat families. Now with the sailing
Wouldn't it be
being
a
towed
boat
behind
affair?
a power cruiser
It's more like
or a
polygamy,
small
but I
runabout
digress.
used as a tender for a sailing yacht. You should try both facets of the sport. It will probably be most fun to settle on the type most successful and popular in your area.
No, peer pressure. The
If your
ultimate
choice is
decision
power,
maker.
however,
Right.
be certain, be sure that you are choosing an engine that delivers the
absolute.
horsepower designed for your hull. Don't fool yourself and hang an 80-horse outboard on a 12-foot runabout.
Oh, I don't know. That sounds
Overpowering
awesome.
is dangerous and makes proper performance of the hull impossible. Instead, find out from your dealer what power is recommended by the manufacturer and matched to the hull.
I can't believe we didn't write a dealer
Inboard-powered
joke.
boats
I know.
usually come with the proper engine installed. But check to be sure.
Except for those Volkswagen Beetle boats.
Don't tell yourself all you
Where they're-
want is
where
a
they're-
slow boat
they're
to
sitting
put
in the
around
back.
in either. No sense taking all day to get to your favorite fishing or picnic spot. And if you want to pull an extra water skier, run upstream against a strong current, or get home ahead of a threatening storm,
Row
it's
real
important
fast.
that you have speed to push you along.
Also known as cocaine.
As I said, I can't tell you the perfect boat for your personality.
But if you want the
compare
best,
the
buy a
requirements you
Johnson.
listed with the craft
An
you now
outboard
own or
motor,
want to
Brian.
buy, you can
Oh.
determine if your choice is the best one to get you where you want to go on the water, and can take you there pleasantly and safely. The equipment you carry aboard your boat can make or break your fun afloat.
Hashtag
Some is
Ogden
required
Nash.
by law, some dictated by common sense and comfort. If you have not owned a boat before and have no essentials on hand, it is well to set aside 10 to 20% of the price of your boat for added equipment.
Like a really
Here
big cooler
again,
and ice.
Let's make a
Absolutely.
list and see just what you'll need. If yours is a
Okay.
power boat with 10 or more horsepower, and in some states less, you will need boat registration and numbering.
And alphabeting.
This is legally required in most states and on all federal navigable waterways under Coast Guard jurisdiction
Navigable.
in states that
Yeah,
have
that's a
no
good
specific
word.
laws of their own.
They're just a rebel without
Even
a
if you
clue.
find your boat may not need a number, it is wise to apply for one.
What?
Your registration makes it much easier to find and identify your boat if it is stolen or goes adrift.
Or runs away from
Your
home.
local marine dealer can tell you how to register your boat. In most states, you will apply to the Department of Parks and Conservation at your state capital.
And ask for Ron Swanson.
Where there are no state laws, your
Montana.
local post office can obtain the Coast Guard registration for you. Check your marine dealer as well for necessary legal equipment.
See what he's hiding behind
Some
that
states
counter.
require only lights and life jackets.
Just thinking
But
having an
your
attorney on the
absolute
boat.
minimum should be the Coast Guard requirements for your size of boat in federal waters.
Full.
These
Brian.
include, in addition to the proper navigation lights and approved life jackets, vests, or cushions for each person aboard, an approved fire extinguisher, ventilators and carburetor flame arresters for inboard engines, and a whistle or horn
And
for
a
boats
sink,
over
a
16 feet.
refrigerator, big screen TV,
These are bare
sofa.
minimums, and your state may require more.
That's all I need.
The Coast Guard Auxiliary, a volunteer
It's a good
civilian
reference.
branch dedicated to pleasure boating,
Sounds
looks for additional items before they give your boat their seal of approval. They recommend anchor
And disco ball.
sufficient anchor line, distress flares,
flared
oars
jeans.
or a paddle for smaller craft,
And naughty
and
children.
bailer or
Right.
bilge pump. They examine to be sure you stow this equipment where it is easy to reach, that your gas tanks and galley stove are the right types and properly installed, and that your boat is clean and shipshape.
Hey, I do the puns here.
Don't save money with cheap substitutes when safety is concerned. Get a
I need to
good-sized
cancel
anchor
my order with
and the
Temu
kind that
then.
will hold best in your
Yeah,
waters.
you do.
Buy enough anchor line. I recommend at least 100 feet of nylon.
Man, that's a lot of
Take along
stockings.
tools,
That is a lot.
spare parts,
A lot of pantyhose.
compass, charts, dock lines, fenders, a boat hook, binoculars, and perhaps a small portable radio for weather reports.
Steve, is there even room for
Good
you?
marine hardware
know.
is expensive because it's made to withstand constant moisture, but it's worth the price.
This is no longer fitting
No pleasure
nicely
boat
into
has
my
room
budget.
for everything you'd like to take
Liar.
along, so choose carefully and buy the best. We'll be mentioning additional items.
I recommend
when we
Pursuit
discuss
United
planning a
Double
cruise.
Oaked Bourbon.
And here's the name of one bargain you should order right now.
Is he having a
It's called
stroke?
Recreational Boating Guide,
That's a good pun.
number CG-340, and it's available from the Superintendent of Documents,
Just like R2D2
U.S.
and
Government
3PO.
Printing
Right.
Office, Washington 25, D.C. It costs 40 cents
That's
and was
outrageous.
prepared by the Coast Guard as an instruction
Inflation.
booklet for every boatman. In it are
Boatman.
discussed proper equipment for every size of boat, as well as many other matters we shall touch on.
He's going
Right
to
for
touch
a
your
copy now.
boatman.
Right.
Time was long ago when you might never get home from a voyage without luck and a good knowledge of hard-earned seamanship.
2, you can only
Today,
grab
the
your
pleasure
dinghy
boat
and pray.
sailor has
Right.
many additional aids to help him handle his boat properly. And the more he
Always
learns
handle it
about them
properly.
and how they apply to his particular boat, the more he will enjoy the sport.
What are we talking about again?
Many volumes have been written on this subject,
Hemingway's
and we
The
shall
Old
mention
Man
some
and
of
the
them later.
Seafaring
But the
Noob
basics are easy to describe. Learn them and practice them.
of
From the
Brian.
moment you step aboard your boat,
So
you
Close.
must use common sense. And as
By
skipper,
Calvin
you must
Klein.
see to it that
Right.
your passengers are properly instructed
Love
and
that cologne.
equipped as well. Be
It smells
particularly
perfectly
careful
appropriate.
with small rowboats and dinghies. They tip over easily, often do not carry enough life jackets, and are easy to overload if you are not careful.
That also explains most
Every
people
boat
who are
must
dinghy.
have a
Yep.
life vest, jacket, or preserver cushion carrying a label showing Coast Guard approval for every person aboard. Small children should wear a jacket or vest at all times. When out in a boat, and whether they can
And
swim
adults
or
should
not.
wear arm floaties.
Yes.
On entering a small boat, step into the middle and sit down immediately.
Crawl if you
Keeping
must.
your weight low and along the center line keeps the boat stable and on an even keel. Do not cast off your dock lines until you are all settled and gear safely stowed.
But do cast off the shackles
Then
of
move slowly
patriarchal
away from
oppression.
the dock
Yes, you should.
until you become used to the feel and operation of your boat. This will be true whether you are a beginner or an old-time boatman
Or
first
completely
trying
wasted.
out a different craft. Practice starting and stopping until you are sure of the easy operation of your boat.
Or you could finish. I mean,
Speed
I'm
up
just
only when
saying.
you are away from other boats, crowded channels, and swimmers. Many busy harbors have speed limits.
Be aware of the floating
Notice the
traffic
weight your
lights.
boat throws out to each side.
Oh, yeah.
You are legally responsible for any damage which this wake might cause by rocking or even capsizing boats anchored nearby. Remember, your boat has no brakes, so
And
travel
neither
at
do
speeds
I.
which will allow you to come to a stop or turn in time to avoid an obstacle ahead. Learn the rules of the road immediately.
I prefer the
They are
way of
described
water
and
better.
diagrammed in the
Yes.
Coast Guard booklet already mentioned. Have a more experienced boatman take you out and demonstrate them, if they are new to you.
Ooh, well, that's
When
kinky.
you approach another boat head-on, you both will normally turn to the right or starboard
I'm,
and pass with your left or port side toward his port side.
this is
If
considered
the other boat
polite
is approaching
and
you from
avoids
your right,
jousting.
you will
Right.
give him the right of way and turn, slow down, or even stop if necessary in order to pass behind him.
Oh, Steve, what are we talking
Should
about
he
again?
be approaching you
You
from
can
the
also use
left
roundabouts if
or
necessary.
overtaking you from astern, you have the right of way and will maintain your course while he stays out of your way.
Is Jesus directing
Sailboats
traffic
have
out
the
there
right
on the
of way
water?
over power boats, but power craft, large or small, are all governed by the same rules. It would be
Physics?
foolish of you, however,
Gravity?
to cut in front of a large freighter or a tug with a tow simply because you are approaching from his right. Give all commercial craft a wide berth,
Having the
particularly
C-section
in
works
narrow
best here.
rivers and channels. The larger they are, the more room they will
harder
need to
they fall.
maneuver.
Oh, no.
They also throw a wash that can be hazardous to small craft close by. Commercial skippers live by the rules, and you will find them very considerate in trying to stay out of your way.
While insecurity
On the water,
pushes you from
You
the
have
inside.
both winds and currents pushing your boat. When first getting the feel of it, try pulling up alongside a floating object as if it were a dock.
Call them floaters.
This kind of practice shows how your boat responds to power and rudder, and gives you valuable practice before you need to return to a crowded dock or mooring. Learn to approach against the wind or current, whichever is stronger,
Bob Seger.
so that it will act
Against
as
the
a brake to
wind.
slow you down. Always move slowly in crowded waters.
Or just
But
duck away in a
remember, when you
corner
are
and
moving
hide,
slowly,
like I do at
you will
parties.
have less
Hashtag
control
wallflower.
of your rudder.
Yep.
Your boat will receive fewer scratches, and you'll endanger fewer docks and other craft if you come in easily and carefully. Make a regular routine of approaching a dock. Check the wind, check the current,
Check yourself
put
before
out
you
fender
wreck yourself.
bumpers along the
That's
side
good advice right
that
there.
will be next to the dock. Have bow and stern lines
Fender
ready to
amps for
talk to
parties,
someone
too.
on the
Yep.
dock or ready to loop around cleats or bollards ashore. If you're waiting for a bridge or
I've
locks to
been
open,
waiting
it's a good hint to
for
have a
a
light anchor
boat
ready
like
to let
you.
go if your engine should ever stall. Notice in a power boat that, unlike a car, the stern of your boat rather than the bow swings around.
Anchors on the
If someone
road?
fell overboard,
Great idea.
you turn toward him. Your stern and dangerous propeller would move away from him. Always remember this as you approach or leave a dock, so that you can take advantage of it when you come alongside, but will not slam your stern against it as you turn.
Ooh, that is so hot.
Your practice out in the open water also teaches you what to do if someone falls overboard.
Well, he drowned.
Remember to have
Lesson
life
learned.
jackets and cushions out and always handy. Should someone fall, throw preservers to him immediately. Even if he can't reach them,
You're
you will
going to have
help
to
mark
come
his
up
position
for
in the
it.
water. Keep an eye on him and help others watch as well as you return to pick him up. Be sure your engine is in neutral or turned off as you get next to him, so there is no chance that he will be hit by the propeller.
But beer cans?
And help him aboard gently. A rescue is
is
unsuccessful
getting dark.
if you injure the victim by pulling him roughly back on deck.
It's still fun, though.
Find if there are charts of your waterways and always carry them on board. The chart, a nautical name for a map,
Ooh, the map.
give you a great number of navigation aids. It will show you a mark of buoys,
And
which
girls.
you will find are red on your right as you are returning to harbor and black on your left. Lighthouses, prominent landmarks, compass directions,
Tourist
depths
attractions,
of water,
celebrity homes.
and even types of bottom are also shown.
I like bear myself.
When anchoring, make a habit of studying your chart to find the best place, how deep the water will be, and if the bottom is covered with rocks that may foul your anchor, or is instead good holding ground.
And watch for orange construction
Then
barrels.
lower your anchor carefully so that the line will not foul around the flukes. If there is room, let out at least 7 times as much line as the water is deep.
Many.
The longer your anchor line, the more chance there is for the anchor to dig into the bottom. A long line also
like to
acts as a
dig in
shock
the bottom.
absorber, so that the surface waves do not make your boat jerk the anchor free.
Hey, who you calling a jerk?
Put out several anchors and lots of line to them in case of a storm.
Hundreds.
For knots, learn the bowline, square knot, and clove hitch, and then others as you need them.
Other knot names. The Millicent, the
Practice with your
Septagon,
charts
and the
and
Geary
compass.
Busey.
Until you can steer easily a course that you have laid out in advance. Check your position by identifying landmarks ashore as you pass them.
Car.
Keeping from getting lost is merely a matter of always knowing where you are.
Well, thanks,
And once you
Captain
can let your
Obvious.
compass point the way and trust it, you will feel much safer if you are suddenly caught offshore in a fog or are sailing home at night.
3.
Books like Chapman's Piloting, Seamanship, and Small Boat Handling, Knight's Modern Seamanship, and Schechter's
5.
Standard Handbook of Pleasure Boats are all excellent reference
That has
works.
centerfolds.
And we shall mention Power Squadron, Coast Guard Auxiliary, and Red Cross courses later. Seamanship is made up of many
6.
important subjects. The
And
more you
fluids.
learn about them
Right.
and practice them, the more you will enjoy your boat.
We
No.
Safety afloat is simply taking care of all small details and being prepared for anything that might go wrong.
Like a bird uprising.
All
or the
boats are
plot
safe
of the
if
rock.
used for the purposes for which they were designed. But on the water,
Unless you're
you
Jesus.
make a mistake,
Hashtag I
you
am
can't
the life
get out
vest.
and walk home.
Right.
First of all, learn to swim, and have everyone in your family learn to swim. They're
Even your
never likely to have
95-year-old
the
grandmother.
emergency when they will need it, but they will feel much more comfortable about boating.
Especially if
Keep
they're
your
bloating.
small children in life jackets, even if they
Did you
can
say
swim.
straitjackets?
And if they complain, point out how
Tell
racing
them to
boat
shut up.
drivers never go out on the water unless they too are wearing jackets.
Smoking jackets, but
Don't
still.
leave port
Yeah.
at all if the weather is threatening.
Or bullying.
Have fun at anchor or near shore.
Get
And
drunk
if you
on
should be caught out
land.
and see a
No
sudden summer
thanks.
squall approaching, close all hatches and portholes, lower
To avoid
sail,
time travel.
get everything shipshape, and head at an angle into the waves and wind when they come. Heavy static on your radio can often indicate that a thunderstorm may be on the way.
And heavy static from your partner means
boat
an
should
argument
turn
is
over.
incoming.
That is
Thousands
true.
of canoes
Very
and small
true.
sailboats do every year without any trouble.
Panic!
Stay with your boat until help comes. Shore always seems nearer than it actually is.
An illusion.
And if you see a boat that seems to be signaling that it is in trouble, you must always give assistance. Use great care while refueling your boat. As gasoline goes into the tank,
Light a match.
it pushes out explosive vapor that will sink to the bottom of your boat and wait there for a spark if you are not careful. Be sure your boat is properly equipped for safety. Ask your nearest Coast Guard auxiliary group to give your boat a free courtesy examination.
Then ask for one for
Remember
you.
that you are most
and drop
likely
your
to get
pants.
into trouble in a small boat. Be careful never to stand up suddenly or move around while underway.
Shouldn't that be the
Never
first rule?
overload
You would
or
think.
overpower a boat. Take along a first aid kit, sunburn lotion, and sunglasses. But
And a
don't
good
let
Hawaiian shirt.
passengers aboard overexpose or overexert themselves. In case of an accident causing considerable damage to a boat or injury to a person,
Act like
this
nothing
must
happened.
be reported to the Coast Guard. And continually use common sense.
Yeah, like not buying a boat. Got it. Wow. Okay, there's a lot of information he's getting
Yes. Yeah.
to. Like, that is one distinction I want to make here from this record versus some of the other ones we've done.
Yes.
Here, How to Host a Dinner Party was performative in nature. It wasn't actually very helpful. It didn't
No.
have a lot of hard information.
No. Yeah. It was just talking about different dishes or,
Yeah.
different ingredients, but it wasn't like,
And then there were segues and stuff.
right. Yeah. It wasn't like in this where it was like, make sure that your oven has a 220 plug.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more detailed.
This is way more detailed.
Like regulations, getting the proper papers
Yeah.
for your boat.
Like, I genuinely think this guy did not understand the task that was assigned to him, and he was trying like 200% too hard.
Right. This should be called Hear How to License Your Boat.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet when he was in there recording, like them in the studio, they were just looking at each other like, should we stop him? Like he doesn't get it.
He's getting too heady.
Yeah, and they would just be like, that's too late in. We're already using the tape. Let's just go.
We already paid for it. We don't have any more money.
Right.
Let's just go.
Who's going to buy a record that tells you how to sail a boat?
Right. We did.
Yeah. But we bought it 60 years after.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so Steve, what kind of things did we learn from this record? Because there was a lot.
Yeah. There is. Yeah. If you're planning on buying a boat or buying your dream boat, you probably can't afford it in any way.
Yeah, I really liked his use of, if you're going to dream realistically.
Right.
Like,
Realistically, is you don't need a boat.
right,
You need a car and a house. You don't need a boat.
right. Yeah. You and I are middle-aged men living in Indiana. We don't need a boat.
No.
There is no good scenario.
No. And if you do have a boat, you got to drive like a freaking 2 hours away to go to a decent sized lake
Right.
anywhere. So it's like, get your boat and get on the road.
Yep.
It's kind of
Yeah.
counterproductive.
Right. And that was the thing that I kind of like, I'm going to piggyback on that. It's just, you need to have a lot of money to truly enjoy a boat.
Yes. And live near the ocean.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's the other most important thing.
So, yeah. And Steve, in honor of you, I'm going to say the next one that I thought of, which is the Coast Guard is filled with seamen.
Yes, it is.
And then that last one is, I've learned that I will become physically exhausted from telling boating puns long before I ever tired of hearing them. I'm basically 12 years old.
You and me both. Hey, but I wonder if there were like some other like failed ideas in the Hear How To series.
You know,
I wonder if there's some that they tried. They're like, I don't know.
Right, like there's just a shelf of like stuff that they recorded and then decided like after listening that they were like, no, absolutely. Like, what kind of things are you thinking?
Like Hear How to Skydive. Would be a good one.
just sound whooshing and people screaming.
Right.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I was thinking, like, what about managing political campaigns?
Oh my gosh. Hear How To. First, you must choose your party. Do you want Republican or Democrat?
Side 2 is all about subterfuge.
Right, exactly. Or going along with the outdoor stuff, you could do a Hear How To do rock climbing.
Okay, that would actually make more sense than boating. You know, boating is an inherently uneven surface. You know, like records can't play on that.
Right.
You could at least theoretically be by a rock face. And guess what? Rocks are kind of famous for either moving all at once or not at all.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, so stay away from where they're moving real quick and you can listen and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's how you do that. What about big game hunting?
Oh, you're listening to the record as you're watching for deer.
Yeah. I was even thinking more like, like you're listening to a guy like in the African Serengeti.
Oh, yeah.
This is the 50s and 60s.
Oh, this is true.
And
This
like
is true.
it's just gunshots followed by loud steps coming at him, and he's like, oh.
All of a sudden, the record just stops.
Yeah, you just hear panicked people.
It just stops.
Yep. The record itself is only one track.
Right. They didn't hear an extra voice. Thank you for listening.
Yep.
This is the end. The end of the record and the end of the guy's life.
Yep. He died. The end.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen to side 2. This was a lot of registering and very basic info. I'm curious to hear what he's going to get into based upon how almost ludicrously thorough he was.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, thank you all for listening again. Thank you for being faithful listeners. And we will talk to you soon.
Right. And as we say, not all records should be collected. Thank you.
The Vinyl Word podcast is written by Brian Mayer, Steve Beach, and Eric Evans. It's produced by Steve Beach and Cameron Beach. The Vinyl Word podcast is hosted and distributed by Buzzsprout.